Exodus 19:6 says, "And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel." This is a fascinating promise of God made to the nation of Israel. This wasn't a promise made to the church, and we completely reject the satanic doctrine of replacement theology that teaches that the church replaces Israel and usurps all of Israel's promises. What's interesting is that the replacement theology crowd doesn't want to take on the responsibility of the curses promised to Israel if they rebel, only the blessings. And even many of the blessings are spiritualized and mythologized to fit the denominational agenda of certain churches. But when we read the Bible in its entirety and keep things in their proper place and context, we see that the church has similar promises, but not the same promises as those given to Israel. That's what causes many to become confused and stumble. We repeatedly remind folks that things that are different are not the same. Similarity is not sameness. And we also repeat the three most important rules of interpretation: context, context, context. And these are simple ways of reminding us to do what Paul described as rightly dividing the word of truth. 2 Timothy 2:15 is where we're commanded to study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. That commandment to study has been removed from most of the corrupt New Bible versions, and the phrase rightly dividing has been changed to rightly handling in the ESV, accurately handling in the Legacy Substandard version, and correctly handles in the NIV. Those fake Bibles are just pathetic, which is why we'll stick with our King James Bible. And we will study to rightly divide the word of truth with the desire to be approved unto God as we work unashamedly to do so. That means that when we see promises to Israel, like that which we read in Exodus 19:6, we do not try to apply them to the church, and vice versa. For example, Peter writes a similar message in 1 Peter 2:9, where he says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." The replacement crowd and the cults will claim this too is about Israel, which is now the church. But the very next verse, Peter explicitly says that it is not to Israel who's become the church, but is to the church which is not Israel. Read it in 1 Peter 2:10, "which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy." That couldn't be Israel. They were a people. In other words, this is to the church and the mass of believers, both Jew and Gentile, from every tongue, tribe, and nation. There's so much to extrapolate from this text, including refutations of the sinful heresy of claiming to have a priesthood in churches today, or calling men father and reverend and such things. But a point we want to emphasize is that Jesus is King of all kings. Jesus is the King of glory in heaven, described in Psalm 24:7-10 and Daniel 4:37. He's the king over the kingdom of heaven. He'll be king of Israel and king over the kingdom of God, which belongs to the church, which are similar but different kingdoms. Jesus is the king of Israel and the kingdom of heaven, which is why he is called the King of Israel by Nathanael in John 1:49, and also called the King of Israel by the adoring crowd on his triumphal entry into Jerusalem on Palms in John 12:13 and many other places. But Jesus is also the only potentate, the King of Kings over the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of God. And Paul refers to his being king of the kingdom of God in 1 Timothy 1:17 and 1 Timothy 6:15. And that's why Jesus said this at the Last Supper in Luke 22:16. After instituting the Lord's Supper for the church, he said, "For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of God." More than one kingdom, but only one king, and Jesus is the King.